Good morning, I'm Maiki Oreta and you're watching Basis Points, where we dive deep into the numbers and the stories that drive our economy and shape our world. The headlines. Stronger OFW remittances lift the Philippine peso to its highest level against the US dollar in nearly 3 months. The country's jobless rate rises in October. European business leaders plan to boost their investments in the Philippines in the coming years. And Bitcoin slips after hitting a record $100,000 milestone. First up, a look at the financial markets. On Wall Street, U.S. stocks are down, led by a decline in United Health Group shares. United Health, the largest health insurance company in the U.S., faces pressure after its CEO, Brian Thompson, was tragically killed in a Manhattan shooting incident. Tech stocks also slipped as investors look ahead to Friday's jobs report.
When it comes to market valuations, we think things look a little frothy right now, especially with the S&P trading at 23 times next year's numbers. And because of that, we think there's some digestion going on here at year end. There's not enough reason to sell the index as a whole, simply because you have regulations that are going to get cut next year, and you're also in a Fed cutting cycle. So it's really tough to sell outright right now, but it's also tough to hit the buy button, at least at the index level. So we think that earnings need to catch up in the near term for the index to be worth its valuation and at least see the index go higher.
In Europe, stocks closed higher with traders monitoring political tensions in France. The CAC 40 index ended up by 0.4%, touching its highest level since November 12th during the session. Here in the Asia Pacific, markets opened lower, tracking losses in Wall Street. Japan's Nikkei 225 is down by 0.5% in early trade. The Kospi down 0.1%, while the S&P ASX 200 is down nearly 0.4%. And at the foreign exchange market, the Philippine peso makes a comeback, marking its strongest level against the US dollar in nearly 3 months. On Thursday, the peso closed at 57.88 to the dollar, which is an improvement from Wednesday's close of 58.23. Economists say that the rally is driven by seasonal remittance inflows as overseas Filipino workers send more money home ahead of the holiday season. Bangko Sentral Deputy Governor Francisco Daquila Jr. points to these inflows as a key driver for the peso's strength. This Friday morning, the peso opened at 57.80 against the greenback. A stronger peso makes imported goods cheaper and helps keep inflation in check, especially during the holiday season. The number of employed persons in the Philippines climbed to 48.16 million in October. The employment rate is at 96.1%. On the other hand, the unemployment rate rises to 3.9% from 3.7% in September. This translates to 1.97 million Filipinos. Underemployment is also up at 6.1 million, or 12.6%. In other news, European firms show optimism about the Philippine economy with plans to increase local investments in the coming years. That's despite identifying persistent challenges like complex regulations and high business costs. Sujin Kim has the details.
A resounding 85% of members of the European Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines, or ECCP, are planning to increase their trade and investment in the country over the next 4 years. Citing infrastructure growth, sustainability initiatives, and alignment with global standards as key drivers.
So a lot of the growth that we're seeing in this economy is coming from about 7 years of investment acceleration, of fast growth in investment, both public and private.
The Build Better More program of the government will continue to spur capex investments. And there have been 194 projects with a combined value of 8.1 trillion, which have been identified as opportunities in this sector.
The region is seeing a gradual recovery in exports. The World Bank says exports will continue to be a source of growth in the short term.
Orientation to China is also changing, in part because of the decoupling of China-US. You see an increase in the share of exports from China that come to ASEAN countries, but also to the rest of the world.
Another contributor is the banking sector, which had a positive outturn for the year, with total banking assets growing more than 12% year on year. It is expected to grow even further in 2025 with a decline in interest rates.
Philippine banks will end 2024 with strong earnings, with adequate capital and excess liquidity to finance further economic growth.
However, European companies say that while there are improvements in the ease of doing business, challenges such as inconsistent regulations, geopolitical instability, skill gaps, and rising operational costs remain, highlighting the need for labor upskilling, energy reform, and climate-related policies.
There are many reasons why climate change is affecting the growth potential of the economy. Decreases in yields in agriculture, large negative effects on productivity of firms that are in flood-prone areas in the Philippines. The effects are large, particularly for small firms.
Firms also see the resumption of the EU-Philippines free trade negotiations as crucial to unlocking economic potential. The agreement is projected to bolster bilateral trade by up to 6 billion euros and create as many as 250,000 local jobs in sectors such as garments, agriculture, and digital trade. Soojin Kim, BNC.
Export Development Canada, or EDC, a state-owned export credit agency, opens its first office in Manila to enhance trade and investment ties with the Philippines. This move is part of Canada's strategy to expand its business presence in the Indo-Pacific region. The announcement came during a trade mission at the embassy in Manila. In its first major initiative, EDC signed a MOU with Ramon San Miguel Corporation to promote partnerships between companies from both nations. The Manila office joins EDC's network of global locations, including Vietnam and Singapore. On another front, electricity rates are set to increase in January as the Energy Regulatory Commission allows power firms to recover over 3 billion pesos from consumers in Luzon and in the Visayas. The charges date back to March when the ERC suspended reserve market operations following a spike in prices. For Luzon, the amount will be collected over 3 months starting January. Visayas customers will have a 6-month payment period. We're taking a quick break. Please stay with us as we dive deep into the numbers and the narratives that matter most to your bottom line.
We celebrate the way our home regions have developed distinct dishes and flavors. We have found unique methods of using spices and flavorings. Food is most easily the most expressive cultural expressions. Each tradition tells a story of how a people have related to the land, have developed a culture of tastes and flavors. Each and every one of them a delicious expression of Dayaw, our knowledge, our pride.
Magandang gabi, ako si Corina Sanchez Rojas.
Magandang gabi, ako po si Pinky Webb.
Simulan na natin ang agenda.
Nasa radyo na, mapapanood, mapapakinggan.
94.7 FM.
Nahaharap ngayon ang Estados Unidos sa isa na namang 4 na taong Trump presidency.
Death squad rin yan. Binawi niya yung sinabi niya.
Ing masalimuot ang buwan ng Oktubre para sa ilang bilyonaryo.
Sa bawat issue may anggulo at ang balita may agenda.
Good morning, everyone!
A platter of positivity, a cup of the hottest information, and a slice of what to expect for the whole day. With excitement, positivity, and fun. Join Paulo Del Rosario, and Asis Carrillo, and Monique Tuzon.
It's a beautiful day!
7 a.m. on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel.
From Manila to the globe, this is World News Feed, bringing you the biggest stories shaping our time. I'm Rain Musni. Let's dive into the headlines making a global impact.
Welcome back to Basis Points. Trading at the Philippine Stock Exchange opened just a few minutes ago. Let's take a look at the initial figures. Right now at 9:42 this morning, the PSE index is, we're seeing selling pressure here. The market is down by 0.3% to 66.72. Now, it's worth noting that the market extended its losses yesterday for a third straight session, with benchmark PSE index slipping below the critical 6,700 level. Yesterday, it lost 0.6% to 66.91. This is its lowest level in recent weeks, but the market is trending even lower than that now. All of this has come after November inflation quickened to 2.5% from 2.3% in October. Analysts say that lingering concerns over rising prices and external market uncertainties are weighing on investor sentiment. Right now, the PSE index is down by 0.3% to 66.73. Broader all shares index down as well, down by 0.2% to 37.69. Taking a look at the sub-indices, the financials and the property counters are leading the losses, whereas the industrial counters, services and mining and oil counters are bucking the market's current downtrend. Now, in other news, OPEC Plus admits that it will take longer than expected to stabilize oil prices. The group led by Saudi Arabia and Russia has decided to delay increasing oil production until April 2025 and will gradually add supply until September of 2026, a full year later than planned. This decision comes as oil demand in China has been dropping for 6 straight months, while U.S. production reaches record levels. Oil prices have fallen 18% since July, now trading at around $72 per barrel. Analysts predict that prices could drop even lower, reaching $60 per barrel next year. Cheaper oil is good news for businesses and consumers, as it can reduce costs and help ease inflation. But it also puts pressure on oil exporting countries, affecting their economies and budgets. Now, national disasters caused $310 billion in economic losses globally in 2024, according to Swiss Re, a Zurich-based reinsurance giant. This is 6% higher than 2023, the hottest year on record. Insured losses reached $135 billion, up 17% from last year's figures, driven by hurricanes Helene and Milton in the United States and massive flooding across Europe. Swiss Re notes this is the 5th year in a row that insured losses topped $100 billion, linking the increase to climate change. For the Philippines and global business, this means higher insurance costs and a greater need for climate resilience, disaster preparedness, and sustainable policies. Now, Boites Power Corporation energizes its first solar power facility in Central Luzon. Jimmy Villaroman, the president of Boites Renewables Incorporated, says the 45-megawatt Armenia solar project in Tarlac is the company's 4th solar plant, joining 3 in Negros Occidental and 2 in Pangasinan. Boites Power continues to invest in thermal plants to support the country's baseload and peak energy demands. This means more clean energy sources for the Philippines, helping meet growing power needs while supporting sustainability goals. Another top firm, SM Supermalls, the powerhouse retail leasing arm of SM Prime Holdings, is gearing up for an exciting new chapter. Its president, Stephen Tan, reveals that they plan to open 3 new malls next year. These will be located in Lawag, La Union, and in Zamboanga City. The renovation of the iconic Mall of Asia in Pasay City is also nearing completion, with a sky roof housing a FIFA-sized football field, which is set to open early next year. Upgrades are also underway at 2 other prominent malls. These include SM Mega Mall, where a rooftop garden will be set up, and a refreshed food hall at SM Aura. We're taking a quick breather. Basis Points will be right back. Welcome back to Basis Points. Health insurance companies are reassessing the safety of their top executives following the tragic death of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, who was fatally shot on Wednesday in Manhattan. Both United Health and CVS Health have since removed photos of their executives from their websites. Before this incident, risk assessments mainly focused on healthcare providers who had faced increasing public hostility since the COVID-19 pandemic.
There may be some liability back on his company. The fact that they knew he was getting threats, was it known to them? And did the board not then provide security at an event that was known? Even though they say they didn't advertise it, it's very easy to find out this information, especially when you get on site and the hotels have signs up, what ballroom they're going to be in, or, what event they may be having, or if there's a cocktail hour.
In other news, Bitcoin drops after hitting a new record high. The world's biggest cryptocurrency fell to $96 per token after crossing the $100,000 milestone on Wednesday. The drop came after U.S. President-elect Donald Trump announced that he plans to nominate crypto advocate Paul Atkins as the next chair of the Securities and Exchange Commission. Trump celebrated the crypto surge in a social media post, taking credit and congratulating Bitcoin supporters, saying they will make America great again. Bitcoin's latest price surge marks a turning point for digital assets. An analyst from S&P Global notes that traditional investors once overlooked Bitcoin, but now that's changing.
So now we're really talking about an asset that there's no longer an outsider. It's an asset that's part of the financial decisions that investors need to make. Investors need to have a view as to whether they want to hold Bitcoin or not. And that narrative has then followed into the U.S. election and the outcome of that election. Clearly, there's anticipation that the new administration is going to be somewhat more favorable to crypto than the old administration was, and that's kind of supported by the wins in the White House, the House, and the Senate for the Republican Party. So for the price of Bitcoin, I think that's what's driven the trend so far, and likely continue into the new year.
For another expert, Bitcoin's rally symbolizes a rejection of established values in finance.
The ground that we've been standing on is moving, and these shifting sands, and in this kind of turmoil, we don't know really what's going to be the winners, what's going to be the losers. And I think that when you're rejecting it, like many of the elections, especially in the industrialized countries this year, have rejected the incumbents. And so I sort of see Bitcoin as part of this rejection of sort of the established values, and not just the values of society, but really of the elites.
On another front, Boeing delays the resumption of 737 MAX production despite the end of a workers' strike last month. The U.S. Federal Aviation Administration confirms that production remains on hold. FAA Administrator Mike Whitaker met with Boeing CEO Kelly Ortberg and toured the 737 plant in Washington. Whitaker says production is expected to gradually resume later on this month. The 737 MAX is Boeing's best-selling plane, making its return crucial for the firm's financial stability. In a nutshell, the delay creates ripple effects for airlines, supply chains, and global aviation recovery, underlining the industry's sensitivity to disruptions. Before we go, U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's figurine is making waves in Spain, becoming a surprising sales hit. The clay figurine showing Trump defecating is part of a Spanish tradition where pooper figurines are hidden in nativity scenes as a lighthearted twist. Once limited to shepherds, the trend now features world leaders and celebrities, with Trump being the latest star. Sergey Alos, the CEO of Kagainer.com, says that the sales of Trump's figurines reflect the impact and recognition of U.S. politics globally in a trend that showcases the commercial potential of capitalizing on political figures and global events, turning popularity into profitable merchandising opportunities.
Well, I mean, of course, you got to get Donald Trump, like that one's the best, Just, the president, the next president of the United States again and everything. And you know, it's just funny that you can get one of him pooping.
And that's it for Basis Points. I'm Maiki Oreta. We'll be back next week for more news on the financial markets and more. Keep it here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo news channel, always on top.